what it means in this current climate, and how these individuals have put in initiatives and actual platforms to do something about it and create a circular economy within fashion that has, otherwise not been the case over the past couple of centuries. So let me start by introducing Onyinye Fafi Obi. Onyinye Fafi Obi is an art director.
Hello.
She's worked with the Style House Styles and Lagos Fashion Week for years and has done a lot of work in the Nigerian fashion industry and is one of the pillars of our fashion community in Nigeria and internationally. And we also have ShihYun Kuo. She is the founder of Lablaco, which also has SwapChain as one of its platforms under it. And you've worked many years in the fashion business space in digitalization and retail and merchandising and all of that. And of course, there's Patrick Duffy, the founder of SwapChain and also the Global Fashion Exchange. You've been very instrumental and vocal about sustainability in fashion and have been very passionate and a driving force behind the move towards sustainability and just developing more of a circular economy within the fashion industry. Hi, guys. I hope I nailed that. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Better than I could have ever said it.
Fantastic. That's amazing. So I think, when I was asked to moderate this panel, I saw a lot of words I'd never seen before. I was like, I'm sorry, what's SwapChain? What is blockchain? What are these chains and why can't I buy them? And I started doing some research, obviously, as you should. And I started reading up about, the SwapChain platform itself and, how you started your, how you started the Global Fashion Exchange. So Patrick, could you please share a bit more about SwapChain and the rise of sharing clothing within the fashion economy and industry?
Yeah, well, maybe before I share about SwapChain, can I go back a little bit to where Global Fashion Exchange started?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because I think SwapChain is this superpower tool that was created with Lablaco and the collaboration with Global Fashion Exchange. So that's really exciting. But it all kind of started about in 2000. First of all, thank you so much for this incredible talk and panel and putting this together. And thank you for all of your incredible work in Lagos. You guys are doing such amazing work, and thank you for having us. So I want to start with that. First of all, thank you. So the GFX kind of clothing swap, it started a bit of a fluke out of an existential crisis that I had in my life, one of the many, and I realized at that point what the kind of atrocities that were happening in the fashion industry around people and planet, and supply chain. So to kind of go through a really long story quite quickly, I was looking for a way to be able to make a difference in the world, but I wasn't sure how to do that until I discovered a clothing swap. So I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever been to one before, but if you have ever been to a clothing swap, pandemonium ends up happening because it's kind of like going to your favorite designer's sample sale and having it all be free. So imagine what that's like. That's the feeling that I got when I experienced a clothing swap for the first time. And then having a kind of a marketing, PR, production and communications background, I quickly saw that what I could do was kind of leave the old model of what I was doing behind and take the skills that I had with Global Fashion Exchange, or take the skills that I had with the marketing, communications, and PR and apply them to a clothing swap and turn it into a tool that I could use to help educate my immediate surrounding of people and consumers in the fashion industry. And so that's what happened. So we started with one clothing swap and then expanded it to kind of this global phenomenon of clothing swaps. So it's not like we invented clothing swaps or did anything new. I just saw something that was working and figured out a way to unite people through that. And so that, fast forward, is what got me introduced to Lablaco, Yun and Lorenzo, my partners now for SwapChain, because the one thing that I was lacking with Global Fashion Exchange was the tracking, the traceability, the impact metrics, the technology, all of the incredible stuff that now we have powered with the Lablaco and Spin platform that we're working with. And so SwapChain is basically a collaboration between community and being able to share in person and now digitally, and then also providing us with the data and the metrics and the information on how we are actually impacting the planet with our clothing choices, and how we can make a change not only as an active individual citizen, but as communities and brands and the world. So maybe you want to talk now a little bit more about what the SwapChain, how it actually works and what Lablaco does, because that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think definitely, like ShihYun, I'd like you to touch a bit more on the processes behind that, because again, like I said, blockchain technology is something that is so new to a lot of people. Especially, I know that blockchain is used in cryptocurrency, which a lot of people are now paying more attention to. So, but before you start, like I said, a lot of the concepts that we're seeing here are new to a lot of people, especially here, because we don't stop and think about what our consumption means. So just to clarify for our audience, a circular fashion industry is an industry in which waste and pollution are not the main, are not encouraged, essentially. Products and materials are kept in use for as long as possible, and natural systems are generated and new systems are put in place that enforce push for sustainability. So ShihYun, I'd like how we can start incorporating that into a global platform, a more global platform, and how soon?
So basically, before. So basically, I would like to kind of ask a question. So if you think about fashion today, what is the platform that you really like, such as Spotify for music or Airbnb for hospitality? What is the platform that you think that represents fashion today?
What would I say the platform that represents fashion today? I mean, Instagram. Everybody's like on Instagram. Yeah,
that's actually interesting answer, because I actually asked this question to a lot of people. Basically, some people will say, oh, probably is e-commerce platform or retailer, but then actually, if you really think about it, there's no platform that for fashion that can really, like other industry, how they disrupted like music or media, like in a digital way. So actually, that is also one of our inspiration, that why we're doing Lablaco today and using blockchain technology. So like in terms of sustainability, we think digitization basically is the key to make the fashion industry sustainable as a core. So if you see other industry like music or the media, so before we were using paper or magazine, but now we're all using Instagram or Facebook. So basically no paper anymore. So it's already automatically become digital and sustainable because we don't print a lot of paper anymore. Or Uber, because before it was car, probably there are a lot of spare car, but using Uber platform, all these spare cars can be used again and digitally, so using a platform. So they basically link driver and rider. So basically all these spare car can be used again. So there's another kind of sharing platform. So what we were thinking is fashion, why until today it's still not digitized? Because basically it's a physical product, and also you have your own size, I have my own style. So that's how difficult is this industry. So how we can digitize a physical product like fashion? So we were thinking Airbnb is one, and like food industry, Foodpanda or Deliveroo, that's how they digitize the food industry. So basically, but food is one thing that you eat and there's no more product. So it's gone. But fashion is you buy the product and product is still there. So how can we have a platform not only thinking about consumption? So it's not only buy and finish. You have to think about after you buy this product, what can be done to make this product useful again. So the key like to make the product to be used again and traced again is to digitize it. So if you think about your clothes and my clothes, they're all offline. So we don't know what happened. Like also brands, probably you went to the store, you bought this shirt, but then the store doesn't know what happened afterwards. So all this information is friction and like all chopped in so many different sections. So from supply chain to retailer to showroom to brands to consumer. So also in the secondhand, if you see today, the secondhand platform and brand, like all selling platforms, they're all separate. So the brands won't know what happened in the secondhand market, how like users they're using all this stuff. So we think we need to use one technology that's similar to MP3 for music, because you are listening to the music using MP3, but you don't know what MP3 is, but you're listening to the music. And musicians today, they don't need to sell the records or CDs anymore. So they track how many times you listen the streams. So this is how like SwapChain, we think, can really change the fashion KPI and how we can really change the way people consume fashion. Because once, if you did use this platform, we digitize the fashion products, and then the whole product journey can be traced on the platform using blockchain technology, because basically blockchain technology is decentralized. Each block represents one product, so it's not hackable. So because basically fashion has also this problem with the counterfeit, all this stuff. So using blockchain technology can also confirm that this product is authentic, and all the history and product storytelling can be added into each product with our platform, basically. So using this technology, we integrate into the SwapChain. So when the whole community, basically, they share the clothing, and the story can be traced on the timeline, and you can see who are the owners before you. So this chain can be traced until the end of life. So all this data is kind of new ocean of data for brands, retailers to in the future to also understand better how to produce better and so on. So yeah, this is
fantastic. The concept of sharing clothes and swapping clothes, we've all gone to thrift stores. We've done sample sales, closet sales, yard sales, things like that. And generally, like, people don't really have any strong feelings towards it. But when it comes to like the fashion lover, the fashion buyer, I would think that there's a bit of resistance. Like, oh, I want to buy my Acne jeans for $500, and it's a sense of pride. I have my Acne jeans, this, that, and the other. And this question is for Onyinye. In Nigeria specifically, do you think that there will be, or there is, a changing attitude to thrifting and pre-loved clothing?
Basically, I think we're getting there. I'm not sure if we're all the way there yet. So I think with thrift stores and secondhand clothing is mostly looked down on here. We normally do it, most of us do it, some fashion lovers do it, but it's not necessarily something we say or we talk about. So they're really little steps that most platforms or most people are taking to just desensitize the Nigerian audience or the Nigerian fashion lover or the next door neighbor to say, okay, you know what? You buying secondhand clothing doesn't mean you're poor. It doesn't mean you're cheap. It doesn't mean you have no style. It's literally a way to how would I put it? To just switch up your style, and also to put back into this economy, which is that secondhand clothing industry. right? Because if we don't buy it, it's going to go into waste, and that's what we stand against. So most platforms are actually doing campaigns about it. I know that we did a campaign about it at Lagos Fashion Week. So
yeah, the Aswani market.
I feel like yes, I feel like in the next maybe 2-3 years, more people would be more into it, because after that campaign, we can see that there was a little shift in how people, especially fashion lovers in Lagos, Nigeria, actually did view secondhand clothing. I'm sure there are a lot of people that have gone to these markets, but we just never say we've gone there, right? But I think we're steadily going towards it, and I hope it comes, really quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next question is for both ShihYun and Patrick, and you guys can decide who's going to answer first. When you were talking about, how blockchain is not hackable, and how everyone can track supply chain and all of that with clothing, as I'm thinking about what it means for brands, because at the end of the day, the fashion business and industry is still a business. People need to make their money. They need to sell their clothing. They need to turn their profits or whatever. Do you think that a lot of brands would be adverse to SwapChain or close swapping like this because it might affect their bottom line? Or is there a way for them to still be profitable while being sustainable?
Yeah. Yoon, do you want to start with that one?
Okay, or me, you.
Joshua, you go first. Go ahead.
Yeah. So actually, we're this Saturday we're launching a circular fashion report 2020. So in there, we're also touch this point, because actually circular fashion industry is a totally brand new industry that we have been done a lot of research with a lot of organizations, but no one really knows what is this about. So that's quite interesting, because after we did the research, actually the opportunity is huge. So not only the secondhand part, but is the whole supply chain. So from waste to new products, upcycle to create a new or retargeting new customers. So actually, it's a whole new ocean of data, especially data, of course, to be monetized. So yeah, actually, we can share this report afterwards, but for sure. Yeah, for sure, it's a multi-trillion dollars of industry that I think also retailers, brands, and final customer or content creators that can tackle down. Also, in terms of digital fashion that's coming up, once the product is digitized, also we can monetize in another way. So probably it's not only the physical product can be monetized, but also the digital product can be monetized in some ways, and some that we're already seeing that it's happening now, basically.
Okay. Patrick, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd love to build on that. I think we've been really trained for so long to think that the fashion industry is only about one thing, which is making clothes, selling clothes, throwing clothes away, in that kind of cycle. And what's so incredible about what we're seeing now, and what you was just touching on, and what you guys are doing in Lagos Fashion Week, is opening eyes to different pathways for brands, companies, artisans, designers, and supply chains, whoever's participating in the fashion industry, to create new pathways for revenue. And what's interesting is that we're starting to see and actually encourage brands to think about not just about producing the clothing in a way that's not harmful to people or planet, as we do see and what Yoon was talking about with the wonderful report that will be released on Saturday, but also touching back on another point that she made earlier about the recirculation and the changing of the KPIs. So to talk about the changing of the KPIs is really exciting, because, for instance, if the KPI is about how many times is something shared, how many times is something circulated, then that can be a metric that a brand monetizes and uses as a success metric. Then imagine if we can put a swap shop in a place like Zara or Selfridges or your favorite store or Gucci or Prada or in your a local small store or grocery store. So what he was talking about is really powerful because it unites people and it brings people together, and it allows us to think more freely than being locked into the system, which has obviously been detrimental for a very, very long time.
Not working. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, reading up about the global fashion exchange, I know that you use a lot of facts and figures about the harm to the environment, especially with fast fashion brands, and how many tons of water or liters of water it takes to make one pair of jeans, and just how detrimental that is to the environment. So I understand that expanding the lifespan of our clothes is important, because I mean we can't just be using finite resources to continue like wasting it and all of that. So do you think it would be in a lot of brands' best interest, especially for like, I guess, intellectual property and stuff like that, to move into SwapChain and have more of their designs and their like, I guess, IP on that platform? Do you think it's better for them in the long run, as opposed to just like, coming up with new ideas every once in a while? Like, do you think it's better that way? Or do you think it stifles creativity if they don't if they don't stay in that space?
I think I mean, I guess I'm kind of a biased source. So, yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess I'm because I mean, it's yes. I think the answer is yes. And what's so exciting about it is that it's something so like, again, the idea of swapping and sharing is not something new. But what's so incredible about it, especially bringing the tech application to it, the Lablaco spin application to the idea of swapping and sharing, is that, again, it opens up so many doors, and things that we can do besides just swapping and sharing are facilitating creative new collections. For instance, with you at Lagos Fashion Week, we're excited to potentially work with different designers and create education that can come out of that. Like, how do we create an example that we did at another fashion week was taking some designers and helping them through an educational process about upcycling. So taking items from their existing collection, upcycling those items and placing them into a new collection, which then got debuted at their fashion week, starts to retrain people on what can actually be done in a circular way with fashion. I think with brands and retailers, it's also very exciting, because when you're looking at it as not only something for, I hate the word consumers, but for that consumers can engage with. Imagine with all of those statistics that you were citing before, like the 4 billion t-shirts or the 3 gazillion pairs of jeans, or the millions and millions of tons of things that get burned, that is waste and also harmful to the planet. We can use those things as resources and actually plug those into this new model. And then, as you were saying before, challenge that system and unify it in a way where you can show people that it's actually cool to recirculate. And you're going to love the story that's behind that jacket. And look, it was in Paris, and then it was in Japan, and now it's in Lagos, and then it goes to Brazil, and again, it's just a whole new way of thinking. I think yes, yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. I wonder if there's any like key figures and numbers that we can say, okay, this is a goal that we want to achieve with sustainability in fashion by X amount of years. I mean, I know that you've spoken a lot about how we have 60 years of soil left. And sorry, can you expand on that? Because I saw that, I was like, what do you mean 60 years of soil? Do I mean like there's going to be no like what does 60 years of soil mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's like such a big one to take on. What
I'm like, does that mean that we will have barren lands? Like, what does that mean?
Well, unfortunately, the fashion industry is an extremely intense industry on the land, whether it's from growing things like cotton or all that kinds of stuff, the pesticides and all the things that are involved with the fashion industry, and also other industries like agriculture and food. We're really abusing the planet. And so, and as of course, what Yoon was saying before about how massive the fashion industry is and why the circular model is so important is because we're doing something called, we're extracting and we're not replacing. So we're living in an economy right now, which is not regenerative. And so that's, in a very large concept, when we say 60 years left of soil, what that means is that the soil is so unhealthy in the majority of the planet that we use for our resources, like to grow food or to take care of communities, that kind of stuff. It's toxic in many places. So when the soil dies, then we don't really have any place left to go. It's just like it's just like the water in the oceans is now pretty much littered with plastic microplastics, which a lot of that comes from the fashion industry as well. So
it sounds really awful. I mean, I've been very aware of a lot of the environmental impacts on just general like production and industry, but is there a way that we can prolong that? Like, is there a way that we can are there trackable ways in which if we actually get things done in order to promote sustainable fashion and better production practices and all of that, can we expand that shelf to like 80 years more of soil? Like, is it beyond repair, or is it just like it is what it is right now and it's not changing? I need like a silver lining. Is there like anything that we can do to like expand that shelf life?
Yeah, I can start that one. I think it's
sure.
That's I don't know if I have the answer to that, but because I'm not a scientist. However, definitely not a scientist. I can, but what I do know is that it's going to take incredible action and actors like you and Omoyemi and Lagos Fashion Week, and with Yoon and Lorenzo, what we're doing at the Fashion Summit, and calling people and calling brands and global companies to take actionable steps now. That's the only way that we do have a shot at it. Because if we, I do believe in the idea that, making small changes in our lives will make an impact. But unfortunately, that is something that we are past. We can't just make a small change anymore. We can't do that anymore. Now is time for drastic measures. And that's an extremely challenging.
I'm a collaborative efforts as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, when we look at what you guys are doing in Lagos, it's the exciting, projects collaboration that we will have together with SwapChain and Spin and sharing, and that's a major, massive step that you guys are taking, and we're so proud to be a part of that with you, because what that's doing is actually saying to the community of your entire community that this is something that we need to be thinking about moving forward. So that's a massive collective action step. So Omo as a catalyst for the summit, we're so proud and so excited for you to be doing that, and your community to be doing that, because that means that you're collaborating in a forward-looking vision. And I don't know how many years that's going to knock off, for the soil, but I do know that massive steps with communities like that will make a difference.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much. Onyinye, could you please talk about the African secondhand clothing industry? For those of you who don't know, we have something in Lagos called the Aswani Market. It is it's another thing that we call it is Okrika, or bend down selects. It's literally, you have heaps of clothing. Yeah, you have heaps of clothing in mounds, literally like mountains and mounds of clothing. And you can buy these pre-used, pre-owned clothes for like dirt cheap. I've been there myself before. I shot a documentary there a few years ago, and what I saw there was a lot of people, just getting their hands dirty and just, it was like a giant thrift store, but like there was no rhyme or reason, just like heaps and amounts of clothing. So, and I know that we said earlier, LFW did a documentary on that, I think about 2 years ago, which you directed and I'm a part of. So could you please touch on the African secondhand clothing industry, and also see if you can like talk about how we can standardize it a bit more and make it a viable, if possible, a viable industry in its own right.
Okay, so basically what Patrick and ShihYun said, like mostly the swap culture. We don't necessarily have the swap culture here. What we do have here is the secondhand clothing culture. So it's basically, like Denola said, a huge thrift store, which covers like a lot of land. Right? It's just a market, so it's a huge land, and you just have little segments with the traders selling their secondhand clothing items, whatever. And it's not just based in Lagos alone. We basically have it in Lagos as Aswani. We have it somewhere in Lagos. We have the Katangoa market. We have it in Ghana as Mokola market and Katamantu market. So it's basically a culture in West Africa, which is the secondhand clothing culture. And it's basically looked down on in Lagos, I would say. I'm not really sure of other West African countries or other African countries, but I know in Lagos, it's kind of looked down upon. We don't necessarily say we go there, but we go there. We know we go there. But we don't say we go there. I've gone there. I've got a documentary there. I'm not ashamed to say I have. But now it's like after the campaign, I think more people were happy to see themselves be represented. Mostly the traders, because you have this ecosystem of traders who are fending their family and taking their children to school from that trade, right? It's not a big deal. It's not a bad thing, right? But it's such an amazing feat for them. We also interviewed the traders. We interviewed the head honcho of the market. So we call her the Yaloja. She basically heads the market and controls the whole traders. Yeah, so they had something to say about the traders, and customers come from all over Africa to come to the market to buy on a particular day, right? And I feel like it's so amazing that they're doing this, because if the alternative to not doing that would be all items in our market going to waste. So we were trying to implore people to, it's free, it's nice for you to go there. You're going to get a good bang for your buck. It's not a bad thing. It's nothing to be looked down upon. It's actually very cool, because when you get there, you find like maybe a cool band tee. You find like maybe a nice mosquito dress. If you're lucky, you can find like
for like 1,000 naira.
Yes, for cheap money, 500, 1,000, like literally. Yeah, it's so cheap. So I think what that campaign did was open people's eyes to not looking down on it, and it was really a big deal, because with this platform telling you it's cool, it's nice for you to go there, it's cool, it's sustainable, it's a sustainable way for us to get rid of waste rather than these things going into a landfill. Buy it, reuse it, wear it, give it to your younger ones, and ultimately sell it afterwards. So I think it's just a little drop in an ocean of making this economy more, this linear economy more a circular economy, I'd say. So it's literally a drop in the ocean.
C'è surprising per 2 milioni e mezzo di prodotti.
Sorry?
No, it's sorry, ShihYun's microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's okay. But
yes,
okay.
Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, Patrick, you've been very instrumental in you opened up a brick and mortar clothing swap in New York City, the first of its kind. And I think with that, you also kind of set up a system in which people can actually have clothing swapping experiences worldwide and globally, right? And I think that's one of the things that also, influenced this collaboration with Lablaco to create SwapChain. So, and I know that SwapChain went live in June of this year.
It went live in February. We did our first like official unofficial activation in partnership with the British Fashion Council last February.
Okay. Well, last February.
of 2020.
Oh, this year, right? Okay, cool. And then I think the next phase, which is going to be using blockchain technology, launch in August, if I'm correct, August 2020. So what's next? What's the next step? Because now, I mean, the year's coming to an end, and this year has been very, very interesting, to say the least. It's to kind of redefine the way we've seen ourselves, and even the way we consume fashion, and just generally like things in general. What do you think, as unpredictable as it is, what do you think 2021 holds for SwapChain, and what trends do you think you would see in consumer behavior and specifically in close swapping?
It's a very, very good question. It has been an incredible year of many, many challenges all over the world. And those challenges have caused us to stop, pause, look at what's working, look at what's not working, and really kind of take those things on and take on those challenges. And I think now more than ever, consumers and brands and companies and global corporations and communities are starting to really understand the impact of everything, which is kind of it's like an awakening in a sense. So it's really exciting to be a part of this kind of revolution in a way, because what it's causing us to really think about is how can we again sustain ourselves and sustain a culture in a way that is going to, as I talked about before, be regenerative and good for people and the planet. And with the next steps for SwapChain, what we're looking at is how can we go in and work with communities? How can we go in and work with brands? And how can we go in and work with retailers on the challenging issues and problems that lie in front of them? In Lagos, the issues are different than in Brazil, than in New York City, than in London, than here. And so really getting hyper local and really understanding what communities need and providing them tools with our toolkits to be able to say, all right, here's how we can provide access to different ways for you to become, for this to become profitable for you. Here's a connected web of other people that might be great for you to connect with, or brands, or resources, or tools, or all those innovation materials, all those types of things. So what's really exciting about SwapChain is a piece of something much greater. And that's what really excites me, is because, as I talked about from the very beginning, the pandemonium feeling that I got when I first saw SwapChain is indescribable. And I cannot wait to see what the feeling that, to hear the feeling that you guys have when you guys experience the swap for the first time, if you haven't already. And so taking that feeling.
Be something.
What's that?
It would be something, I'm sure.
Yeah. Taking that feeling and kind of, as Yoon says, recirculating that feeling over and over again for impact, I think is really going to be very exciting, because the tools that we have and that we're looking at implementing across the board are tools for change. So I'm excited to really go deep with those. So positive. I'm seeing positive.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, and I think it's an amazing initiative, and I really can't wait to see what comes of it on a global scale. ShihYun, thank you so much for joining us. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. Onyinye, do you have anything else to add?
Basically, I think
I feel like we've covered.
It's touched on every topic we wanted to say or speak on.
Yeah. And guys, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Yes.
Hopefully we get to start making some real changes in the planet. And I really want to applaud ShihYun and Patrick and Onyinye for being on the right side of history. I think now more than ever, it's very important that, we're on the right side of things. We've done enough harm as a planet, and I think it's good to have people that are, fighting for what's right. So thank you so much, guys. And please be safe, and hopefully.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Hopefully next time in person we'll all be together. Thank you.
Hopefully, yes.
No.
Hopefully.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.